which was odd. So
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
good.
Good. Hi, James. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Derek.
Hello.
Hey, Ginger.
Hi.
Hi, Chad. We have 2 more minutes till 3 o'clock. We'll give people another couple of minutes to join, then we'll get started. Hi, Wally.
Hi, Lana. Good to see
Hi,
everybody.
hi. Yeah, it's nice to see you. Hi, hi, Al.
Hey, Chad's not wearing a tie, so I'm taking mine off.
We could call it
We're all
casual
friends
Tuesday.
here. I think we can dress down a bit, maybe.
Right. We can call it casual Tuesday, right?
There we go. Wally, you do look dapper though. So
Well,
wanted to say
you're too kind, Chad. Always lead with a compliment. My dad always said that.
it's good advice.
Hi, Jennifer. Kelly and Vicky, I remember your sign-on name. Which of you is on the work group? You might need to unmute. Okay, well, It's 3:00. We'll do a round of introductions. That should clear up the questions. Welcome everybody to the House Bill 2420 work group. I'm happy to see you all. And the work group ground rules: let the facilitator facilitate, share the air, participate and engage, use the parking lot, ask questions, listen to understand, use the raised hand function to speak, use the chat to share links, not for ongoing commentary. Only work group members may speak or post in the chat, and the meeting notes will be out to you within 2 weeks, as they have been. Today, we are going to spend a focused amount of time on the overview of the Center for Health Statistics. We're gathering through all of these presentations, frequently asked questions, and compiling them all so that you can you'll be able to have access to the answers and the questions on an ongoing basis. For those of you who are county representatives, I emailed out to you a list of panel questions for next month's panel, because next month is going to feature the county representatives. And I just want to say, if you have any questions about any of the questions or how the panel runs, please let me know. For the funeral home representatives, I will send you out next week. I will send you out your questions. I'm just interested in not feeling anybody taking anybody by surprise. So plenty of time to work on them, and happy to talk with you all if there's anything that's unclear about them. Any other questions before we get started with the presentation? Okay, we're going to have the presentation, then we're going to put you into breakout rooms. Well, absolutely open to answer questions that come up at the end of the presentation. So asking you to hold your questions, make notes, write them down. And then we're also going to put you into breakout rooms to generate questions about the presentation this month or last month. So just know that there'll be a place to do some thinking out loud about what questions you have. Going to bring everybody back, and we'll ask the questions in the large group so that we can track what all the questions are. Okay, questions, comments about what the meeting's going to look like today? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer to take us into the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Do you see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to actually get off camera. So again, so you don't see me turning and looking at my notes, but just to let you know, thank you again for the opportunity. I'm going to be talking about the Center for Health Statistics, focusing on that. I know last month we focused on the state as a whole. We're going to focus on Center for Health Statistics, and also known as Vital Records. Again, feel free to put your questions in the chat. We'll, as Alana mentioned, we'll have some time at the end to provide you answer questions, and then the breakout sessions to actually then look at and generate questions. Okay, so let's move on to the first slide. This is a slide that I did show at the last meeting. This is the life cycle of a vital record. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I spent quite a bit of time on this at the last meeting, focusing on the left-hand side, you know, the event that's generated with the family, our partners that gather the information, the registration part that goes to the county and the state vital records offices, focusing mostly today on what's going to be happening at the state level. So which is more of the green, where we maintain those records and then move them to as public records. So the question has come up, you know, where is the Center for Health Statistics located? And one of our earlier sessions we had, question was generated, well, who are you and where do you sit? So we are part of the executive branch of state government. And what we're going to do is we're going to be drilling down on this slide. So if you focus on the blue box, that's where we're drilling down first. So we are part of the Oregon Health Authority. And if you drill down to that, the Oregon Health Authority is one of, has numerous divisions. And we are part of the Public Health Division. And drilling down into that, we are part of the Public Health Division's, has 3 centers: the Center for Public Health, Center for Health Protection, Center for Prevention Health Promotion, and we are part of the Center for Public Health Practice. So drilling down to Center for Public Health Practice, as you can see, this is where public health is practiced. We are part of a team of people that do communicable disease, preparedness, immunizations, HIV, STD, TB, and the State Public Health Laboratory. And then the Center for Health Statistics. And yes, we are a center within a center. So focusing on us, meaning the Center for Health Statistics structure, this is our basic org chart, and I am going to be spending quite a bit of time talking to you about who we are and what we do and looking at these each one of these sections. And the way I've organized this is I'll talk about the who we are, the kind of the staffing, and then focusing on 6 kind of highlights and overview of what each of these groups do, and starting with administration. So we have 6 managers, 1 administrative assistant, and 1 fiscal analyst. And anything like any of the businesses you run or any of the county governments you run, the administration is really the group that our main goal is to make sure that we provide the rest of the teams and all the teams below everything that they need to do their jobs. So budget, fiscal, all those contracts, all those special projects. We do a lot of legislative tracking and implementation. We do a lot of recruitment and a lot of staffing management. So that's basically the administration. Again, it's to make sure we have everything we need to do to get everybody else to do their job. Now, focusing next on the registration team. And the way these slides are organized, over on the left-hand side is the staffing, and then on the bottom in the blue is a little bit of their performance statistics, and then focusing again on the 6 primary, or highlighting the primary things that each unit does. So the registration unit has 7 permanent staff and 1 limited duration person. And just to clarify, permanent staff are those staff that we do have legislative agreement or approval to have the permanent staff. Limited duration positions are exactly what they sound like. They are, we can only have them for a limited duration. So 7 permanent, 1 limited duration. We've had about 4 vacancies, which is about 57% vacancy rate in this team the entire year of 2023. And it is comprised of data entry and office specialists. The staff registered approximately 126,000 vital events in 2023, and kind of the 6 key things that they did, or highlighting the things they did, is they have to evaluate every single record to make sure it can be legally registered. They enter all of the paper records that come in. They distribute the forms, home burial permits, and discs. Many of you may have communicated with this team to get that information. Any data quality changes that need to be made to the data, this team does. This team is also, part of their data quality work is matching birth and death certificates. That's a fraud component that we do to make sure that any person who has died, who was born in Oregon, their birth certificate is matched. They do all the review of all of our mail and the distribution of our non-vital records order mail. And every day they transmit data to the National Center for Health Statistics and the Social Security Administration. Our next team is on the other end of the vital record cycle, which is the certification team. This is the team that issues certificates. The team has 15 permanent staff, 3 limited duration positions, and 1 temporary staff. It's had about 4 position vacancies throughout of 2023, and it's comprised of office specialists and public service reps. The team issued 150,000 certificates in 2023, which is an average of 600 a day. We did do quite a bit of catch up, so we'll talk about that closer at the end of the presentation. Focusing on the 6 items that key highlights, they do provide in-person service. We have a counter, and you can see at the bottom there, in-person orders take up about 14% of our orders are in-person orders. We have phone operators. These operators answer the information lines. We get a lot of calls from customers on tracking orders, information on how to order vital records, and just general vital records and amendment information. They do all the keying and processing of the mail orders that come in, which comprise 19% of our orders. Every order has to be checked for eligibility, as well as has to be checked for ID. And then, of course, there's general certificate issuance, issuing all the certificates. 67% of those are the vital check orders that come in that must be processed within 3 days if the order is complete, and do the security paper tracking. Again, focusing, these are just highlights of the 6 main things they do. All of these teams do a lot more than this, but we wanted to just focus on the primary 6 ones. Amendments is our next team. Again, this is the team that does all the amendments for records. They have 8 permanent staff, 2 temporary, 3 vacancies, most of 2023, and office specialists comprise. The staff completed 35,000 amendments in 2023. And as you can see, I'm not going to go through the list. These are the type of amendments that did occur through 2023, actually the different types. So focusing now on the 6 items, highlights of what they do. The team spends quite a bit of time advising customers, talking to customers about what is needed to amend a record. You can see the different amendments at the end, at the bottom there. They do all the amendments, and these are legal changes to records, to paper and electronic records. They process adoptions and change paternity, and we listed these separately because often people don't know that these are actually amendments to records. All the documents have to have evidence provided in order to make a change, so they review all that evidence. Then they look at, determine if they can do the changes by law, and then in delayed filing of records, any record that's been filed after 1 year is considered a delayed filing. Most of the time it's birth records. We have a lot of divorce records that get delayed, and this team is responsible for getting those taken care of. All right, our next team. This is the statistics team. It has 6 permanent staff, 1 vacancy, most of 2023. These are comprised of research analysts and administrative specialists. The team has 140 data requests from researchers and government agencies that they processed in 2023. There is a link to the dashboards. Due to time, we don't have the time actually to look at those dashboards, but if we do, I'd be happy to show those to you or get you the link because they're really interesting dashboards that they provide. So focusing on the 6 items, they do all of the quality control for the databases. These databases are birth, death, fetal death, infant death, and induced termination of pregnancies. Cause of death coding. Cause of death coding is a primary thing this team does. This is actually a specialty. There's a specialty called nosology, which is the specialty of cause of death coding. Most of the cause of death coding is done electronically at the National Center for Health Statistics, but we're very lucky we have some experts that know how to do it here as well. This team prepares all the annual reports and the dynamic dashboards that are on the web. They do all the statistical analysis, take care of all of the data use agreements, data use requests, and then advise customers, public, researchers on how to use the data. The OVERS team, the Oregon Vital Events Registration System team, is comprised of 6 permanent staff, 2 limited duration positions, have had about 2 vacancies most of 2023. These are policy analysts and business analysts. Staff supports over 12,000 OVERS users, and then in 2023, they enrolled 2,000 users and responded to over 8,000 help desk calls. So focusing on the 6 key highlights of their work, they are the OVERS help desk. Anytime you're calling the OVERS help desk, you're talking to this team. Our OVERS system, as you may know, we do updates and system improvements. This team is responsible for making sure that reviewing and figuring out all the updates and system improvements. We have a vendor. Our system is managed, a vendor VitalCheck, and this team is really responsible for making sure that the vendor is doing what they say they're doing and following our contract. OVERS maintenance, do all the testing. This team is responsible for overseeing that. Any modernization and interoperability that we're working on is done by the team, and all OVERS enrollment. The last team is the Partner Services Training and Communication team. This is a new unit, started in 2019, has 5 permanent staff and 1 limited duration position. It has no vacancies in 2023, and it's comprised of program analysts and administrative specialists. The team did over 75 trainings in 2023 and trained over 500 people, and then recently just released a new redesign of the partner-focused web pages. So focusing on the 6 items, the highlights, web page maintenance and update. The web is one of our most important ways we share information with our partners, with the customer, and this team is responsible for doing that. Revising, designing any of our forms, any of our communications, all those fun listservs you all get come from this team. Work very closely with the media when we have press releases. They do all the training and all of our user guides, monthly newsletters that we get out monthly, beginning of the month, our site visits, and our compliance, our triennial review compliance done by the team. And then they help with the legislative implementation. So that's a very quick overview of the 7 areas in the Center for Health Statistics of who we are and what we do. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to the fiscal overview, because this was something that was asked of, how do you make your money and where does it go, which are completely wonderful questions, and be more than happy to share. So focusing the slide now, this is the slide that I did share at the last presentation, and it is on the fees. Just to remind you that these are the fees that we collect. We often focus mostly on the $25 certificate fee, but this shows that these are the fees that we collect at the state. So where does our money come from? How do we make money? Well, we focus on, the state is on a biennium. So we do all of our budgets on a biennium. It's a July 1st through June 30th. So we have 21-23 revenue. So starting, our subtotal was 14.8 mil, and I'll talk to you a little bit in a few seconds about why it's considered a subtotal. But as you can see, 60% of our revenue comes from fees, 30% from government agency contracts, and our federal funds are at 10%. So government agency contracts are contracts that we have with state government agencies who access OVERS, primarily OVERS, earn our data to conduct their business. Our federal funds are from the National Center for Health Statistics and the Social Security Administration. So when I was talking about a subtotal, the subtotal does not include the $3.8 million that was carried over from the 2019 to 2021 biennium. And the reason why we had a nice amount to carry over was for 2 reasons. We had a lot of projects that were larger cost projects that we did not do, we budgeted for but did not do because we didn't have the staffing resources. And we are also expected to keep $2.2 million in the bank, which is equivalent to 3 months of our expenditures, and that is required by state government or requested by state government to have a good be good stewards of state funds. And the last thing related to our revenue, we do not get any general fund money. We do not get any taxpayer money. So we have to run ourselves like a business with this revenue. Okay, so the next question is where do we make our money as far as the fees go? So 56% of our fee money comes from birth certificates, and they're considered short form birth certificates. These are the ones that are issued straight from OVRS. And that's 56%. 13% is from issuance expedite. That's the $7 fee that customers pay to expedite the internet and phone orders. And as you can see, the rest are pretty understandable of where we make our money. The miscellaneous revenue, though, I want to mention about that. That's the $253,000. That comes primarily from we are part of two things that it comes from. We're part of a national electronic verification system. We receive money from that. This is also where we get reimbursed for the paper that we send to the county. So what happens is when there's intaglio paper that's ordered, we pay for the entire shipment. It goes to the counties and the counties reimburse us. And it does come back as the fees, and it gets put here in the miscellaneous revenue. Okay, so that's the money that's coming in. Where does it go? As you can see, we had a total expenditures of 21-23 of about 15.6 million. Like the areas you work in, your most important asset are your staff. And as you can see, 60% of our expenditures went to staff. 9% went to contracts, and those contracts primarily comprise of the VitalCheck contract for the OVRS system. We have GALT contracts for temps, and we also have a contract for a security guard. Cost allocation is 14%. Now, cost allocation is being part of is our indirect costs. We are part of state government, and so we do pay for administration above myself. So Center for Public Health Practice, Public Health Division, Oregon Health Authority, all the administrative aspects to run a state agency that is paid for out of the different program costs, and that's 14%. And then, of course, services and supplies. These are direct costs. This is rent. This is phones. This is all, this is the computers. This is the supplies that we have to keep things running. So our expenditures by group. So first part of the presentation, I focused on who we are and what we do, and now the money, but this is looking at those different groups and where do the expenditures go by service. This includes staffing, contracts, cost allocation, indirect. So as you can see, if you see that 29% of the amount of our expenditures is dedicated to OVRS. And really, if you think about this, that anytime you have an IT system, IT systems are expensive, and that's where most of the cost is there. The certification team, as you can see, is 24. That's the staff, in addition to the GALT temps, as well as our security guard. Our security guard is part of our one of the temps in the certification team. So why is our work important? Who benefits from the Center for Health Statistics? We covered this in the overview, but again, to remind everyone, we provide certificates used by Oregonians for almost anything that requires proving a life event or relationship. Oregonians can't have their normal lives without these vital records. So on the left-hand side, the birth certificates establishing identity, employment, school, sports registration, and then on the other end of the life spectrum for death, any life insurance collected, bank account, anything for a death certificate to take care of the affairs, settle the affairs of a loved one. The other thing to think about as far as the legal record is the legal record information is used by many agencies to conduct their business. And I mentioned the contracts that we have, but these are some of the other agencies that do use the information to conduct their business, ranging from Social Security, child welfare, veterans, immunizations, early hearing and screening for children. So those are just a few examples. Some other things with regards to why is our work important. We established paternity, which is directly related to federal funding for programs such as temporary assistance for needy families and child support. Most people don't understand that paternity is established by adding a second parent on to the birth certificate. And right now we have certain performance standards that in order for certain programs, such as the ones mentioned here, to get funding, paternity has to be established, and we receive no direct federal funding from these programs. But child support is one of the programs that does pay us for accessing OVERS. We provide technical assistance on vital records and statistics to our partners and customers. We are the experts in vital records and vital statistics, and we do spend quite a bit of time providing that technical experience and expertise. We provide foundational statistics. These are the statistics, as I've mentioned in the past, are this birth, death, and fetal death certificate information is used to assess the health of populations. It's used by epidemiologists, public health programs, researchers, and the community. And we look at the information at the local, state, and national level. And we provide a mission-critical vital records and vital statistics system that's actually used throughout the entire state. It is considered mission-critical, and it is used throughout the state. So what are some of our challenges? I think that all of us have probably a long list of challenges. I'm focusing on 4, but wanted to share those challenges with you, and I will go through each one of these. But one that this group has mentioned numerous times, and I've heard numerous times, that's fully electronic registration of death records. Our challenges recently have been staffing. Our challenge has also been timeliness of service, and a challenge related to conversion of records from paper to microfilm. From paper and microfilm to electronic. All right, let's turn to registration of death records. So, wanted to share this with you. We have made improvement on this, believe it. It's been since 10 years, we were at 20% and we're now at 84%. Still have some work to do. We all agree that this is getting our medical certifiers on the electronic death registration system to certify records electronically. But we have made progress, and again, we have a ways to go. It is still a challenge. Staffing. So this slide shows this again. It's a summary that summarizes the staffing that I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation. So we've had 53 permanent staff, 6 limited duration, and 4 contracted temps, which includes a security guard. I kind of mentioned vacancy rates. We've had a vacancy rate of 28 to 57%, 2022 through 2023. You may have noticed these are mostly lower classified positions according to the state. And if you look at our salaries, the most common Center for Health Statistics employee makes about $56,000 a year at $27 an hour. And this is our challenge. They are lower classified positions. The salary, particularly for Portland, we have had a very hard time keeping staff as far as and getting staff and hiring staff because of the salaries. However, on the other side, if you look at the most common Center for Health Statistics person, they've had 10 years of service. So once they're here and they stay. So it's 10 years of state service with a mean of 8 years. And we have 420 years of state service in the Center for Health Statistics. So very dedicated staff. But again, we do have our challenges getting the staff. Timeliness of service. This was something that was very evident, particularly related to the legislative hearings last year. We're focusing on certification here. So the backlog back in just over a year ago, our phone and internet orders were 73 days behind. This is not good at all. Mail-in orders were 4 months behind. As you can see, we resolved that backlog back in, by May, we were down to 2 days. In December, 2 days for mail-in orders. Now, mail-in orders are lower priority than the phone and internet orders. And as you can see too, we're at current 3 days and 5 days. So what happened? I think that many of you probably experienced very similar. Our COVID lockdown, we were closed and we were locked down. We did have to have staff in the office to conduct business, but we also were required to get as many staff home to work from home. And keep in mind, this is the Vital Records office that tends to be very, very paper-based. So we really had to, our challenge was getting people working from home as much as we could. I mentioned earlier our staffing shortages of not being able to recruit and keep people. And then anytime you have a backlog, your work actually increases because you spend more time dealing with customer complaints than you do with the backlog. But we did resolve this. We shifted work from other units to help. We also were able to get some hires late in 2022 and early, well, actually mid 2023, we were able to get staff hired. And unfortunately, our backlog now is in amendments, and a little bit it has to do with the work from home, but also shifting the work. Our other challenge is conversion of records from paper to microfilm. As you can see from the table, that the records that are paper and microfilm only, which means they are not in overs, anything births prior to 1920, deaths prior to 2006, fetal deaths prior to 2008, marriage prior to 2016, and divorce prior to 2016. Digitization of records is a major project. We have had it on the budget for a while, haven't had the staffing resources to do it. What's great about being fully electronic is you can do faster issuance and you can do faster amendments. So what are our opportunities to modernize? Focusing challenges, always want to focus on the opportunities. So fully electronic issuance of certificates is kind of leads to the slide I just showed. No more microfilm and no more paper. I have microfilm and microfilm reader printers that I would love to get rid of. But that's been a goal, and that's our plan. Of course, fully electronic registration, not only of death records, but marriage and divorce records. Interoperability. Now, interoperability with standards, these are called FHIR standards, Fast Healthcare Internet Resources Standards, with our partners at the Fed level, which is the National Center for Health Statistics. If we can implement these standards, we'll be able to do interoperability with electronic health record systems, which means we could get the births and potentially the death records directly from the health record systems. Interoperability with the medical examiner system as well. With the FHIR standards. Improving our vital statistics data timeliness and quality, especially around emerging issues. We have homelessness. We are collecting domicile unknown data, maternal mortality. We have some work that's happening particularly around these two areas. Improving our customer service, improving our call center, our website redesign to help our customers, and also making sure our documents have additional translations. Engaging our communities related to our service and the information we provide, and then improving equity of services and financing based on this work group's report. These are all of our opportunities to modernize. So I wanted to thank you. I've been speaking for about 23 minutes, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I know it was a lot of information to share with you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So thank you so much, Jennifer. That was a lot of information. I really appreciate the slides. You can stop sharing your screen if you want. And the questions, just anything that's popping up, we are going to move you into smaller groups to talk about and brainstorm questions. But anything that's coming up for folks, reminder that this is an invitation for work group members to pose questions. Anybody have something right off the top? Okay. Sitting with the awkward pause here. All right. So then I'm going to ask for James, your help to get people, to get work group members into the breakout rooms. And the purpose, the request from the breakout rooms is to generate questions, any questions that you have, anything that wasn't clear, anything you want to know more about. That's the purpose, is to generate the questions, and then we're going to come back into the large group and have an opportunity to compile them and address them. So James, whenever you're ready to put work group members into the breakout groups, and can we start a timer for 9 minutes for the breakout groups to brainstorm questions?
Thank you, Alana. You all should be going into your breakout rooms momentarily. We'll see you again in 9 minutes.
Thanks, James. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're going to compile the questions now, and I will start as the reporter from my group, and then I'll pass it over to other folks to report from the other group. So we had there's a comment about appreciating the update about the speed of turnaround, and that it was hard when the response time was so long. We had one comment about the not knowing that phone and internet orders got priority over mail-in orders, and some curiosity about that. And then we had a question about which units would be most likely to be impacted by any changes, the kinds of changes that were talked about in House Bill 2420. Can I hand it over to the next group? Derek, are you the reporter for your group, or?
Sure, I can report, and if I don't get anything quite right, Wally said he's willing to jump in and help. We talked about frustration with funeral homes being in the middle on changes, especially medical errors when the cause of death needs to be changed. With the replacements, that funeral homes are often on the hook for those costs, and also doing a lot of legwork, and they're not able to check the work of the doctor. So how they can sort of get out of being in the middle, and how funeral homes can get the correct certifier to agree to certify a record. They need to get verbal okay that a certifier is willing to sign, and sometimes that can take several days just to even get the verbal okay. And then just how we can get doctors and staff to participate in overs more.
Nailed it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wally. And Jennifer, do you have a report from your group?
Yeah, you ready? Okay, questions. Is there consistency in eligibility rights? What are the vital check timelines for processing records when the state has 3 days, but what are the vital check timelines? What does processed mean on vital check? So a lot of vital check questions on my group. What does processed mean in the vital check? I guess you can check in on an order, but it says it's been processed. So what does that actually mean? So yeah, I think it's how do we improve processing with vital check? What is the obstacle related to hiring? Because the hourly salary seems pretty good. And how do we get clarification on expediting amendments and communication, what the timelines are for amendments? Ginger or Shauna, did I miss something?
No, it sounds good.
No, that was a great recap.
Thank you. And Cindy, were you the note taker for your group?
Not necessarily officially. My group didn't have very many questions other than why so many vacancies and what needs to be reevaluated.
Okay, thank you. Did I miss any groups?
My group, please feel free to fill in if I missed other things.
We also discussed the delays and amendments.
Thanks, Paula. Any other questions that we didn't address or that we didn't capture yet? Okay. So I'm going to turn it back to Jennifer to address these if they're addressable in the moment.
I'm gonna need to be able to see them.
Yep.
I
Right.
can just guess.
Here they are.
Okay. So from the top, which units would most likely be impacted by changes related to House Bill 2420? I think that that's going to be forthcoming as far as what the answers to the report were. I mean, our goal for the work group is to come up with options. So part of that would be looking at what options we pick, and not only the impact for the Center for Health Statistics, but also for the state as a whole. So I can't tell you what units would most likely be impacted until we know what the answers are to the report. How can funeral homes get out of being in the middle and in the middle of cause of death? I think this is a great QA question, and one way to help is to be able to communicate better with the funeral homes on when a cause of death on the death certificate has been changed. So that is actually a process improvement we're exploring right now. It has come up quite a bit. So making sure that they're aware that there's been a cause of death change on the record, and was it related to specifically changes or just getting the cause of death? Wally and Derek, help me out here. I may have misinterpreted that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can jump in here. I was mainly concerned with some of the not necessarily always the cause of death, but sometimes if they've incorrectly marked that the person was a smoker or was pregnant, or sometimes the wrong box gets checked, or whether it's not marked natural when it should have been, or something like causes. So those are, any number of different situations can come up where the certifier just has gotten it wrong, and the family has noticed it. We usually don't, we're not in the practice of second guessing doctors and what they put on death certificates. So that was the motivation for me bringing this up, because a lot of times the funeral homes are on the hook for the extra fees for the amendment and replacements.
So it's a combination of what I see is making sure our medical certifiers get on the system, making sure our medical certifiers are better trained, and then also examining the fees for the amendments and replacements. So does that summarize things to think about?
It does on the front end, Jennifer, but the other part that I don't see got translated on here was on the front end of just getting doctors,
Yeah.
locating the proper doctor to accept responsibility and commit to signing the death certificate, which frees up the funeral home to move forward, typically with a cremation.
Yep. Okay. That's a good question, because that's really focusing on what's happening at the medical facility and getting the correct it's getting the correct medical certifier.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for clarifying, Wally.
You bet.
Okay. How much time do we have? Okay. How can we get doctors and staff to participate in overs? Is that my next question? Yep. Sorry. Yep. We're working on it. Training, of course, mandating it. But right now we're focusing on continuing to do regular training. We've actually been training, getting medical certifiers on actually weekly. We work on that. So it's really just showing the importance and marketing as much as we can. And that is part of our partner services team. And that's one of the main reasons we developed the partner services team. Okay, let's see, a few more minutes. So consistency and eligibility rights. Yes, there should be consistency. I think these are a lot around the vital check questions. These are great questions because that has been one of our things that we are needing to work with vital check. And it was great these questions came up on what is being shared with customers on the vital check end versus the customers, what's happening here, and mentioning that the order could sit in VitalCheck for a very long time before we even get the order. So we need to be working very closely with VitalCheck to see how we can improve that processing time from our contractor. And the timing is perfect because we're beginning to negotiate. What is the obstacle in hiring? It's our salaries. It's the level of the work and the salaries and people living in Portland. And so keep in mind that is the average or the most common salary. Most of the staff who are starting working are offered at a much lower salary. Because that's the most common salary in the Center for Health Statistics. And keep in mind, the most common service is 10 years. So our usually starting salaries are significantly lower than that. And we cannot negotiate salaries. So we are required to set a certain level. So it is actually the salary level and then the work as well. And then also, often we have challenges because we require people to be in the office and many people want to work from home. How to expedite amendments, and that's related to the last question, what's going on with the delay in amendments. And I think I just answered the question about vacancies. We had a lot of vacancies, so I'll go back to amendments, finished vacancies. And I think the main thing is during 2022 and 23, it took up to 6 months to do a recruitment because our human resources recruiting office was so far behind. Now we're actually at about 3 months to do it from the time the person leaves to the time we can hire. So we've been able to reduce it. And then we had numerous failed recruitments. So we were recruiting over and over again. So that's the obstacle of hiring and why so many vacancies. It is improving, and it has been improving dramatically in the past 6 months. Amendments, again, it's staffing shortages in amendments and the vacancy rate in amendments. We are trying to resolve that, bringing in temps. Temps are hard in amendments because it is very detailed and requires a lot of training, and we can only keep temps in for 6 months at a time. So we are working on that. And then expediting amendments, I think the question is more clarification. If someone does pay the expedite fee for amendments, where does that fall in the, it depends on the amendment, and also where does it fall in the timeliness? So making sure that we're communicating more on the expediting of those amendments. So I don't think I answered a lot of the questions, but I have lots of good notes.
Yeah, and we can continue. Remember, we're building this frequently asked questions document. So answers to all of these will be appearing in that document as we kind of go through. So there's a reference. In our last minute, I want to say again to the folks who are the county representatives who are going to be on the panel next month, please reach out to me if you have any questions about participating in the panel or any questions about the questions. There are only 4 of them, questions that I sent out, and looking forward to hearing the county folks' experiences next month to help round out the information the group has. In our last minute, any other feedback or other questions from the work group members before we wrap up for today? Anything else folks want to say or add for today? I want to thank Jennifer and the team for producing a wonderful and informative presentation. Really appreciate it. You got a lot in there in a short amount of time. All right. Thank you all. See you next month. Looking forward to hearing from you then.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.